Alatula, fantasy lovers. That means welcome hail in J.R.R. Tolkien's Elfish language. Today at Enneahouse, we're going to enter a world of magic as we start a 3-video miniseries about mythological beings. This video will focus on human-like beings from classic European mythology. Obviously, we can't even begin to scratch the surface of all the fictional creatures that have been created. But as we try to focus on the most well-known beings, remember that each type is just as deep and elaborate as any fantasy universe. Type 1. Elf.
This and all my other AI-generated pictures for fantasy beings are going to be present in my upcoming tabletop role-playing game, Terra Nova. Though this picture does clearly depict the king of the elves sitting on his majestic wooden throne in the middle of the woods, it also has a distinctive Loki air about it. The Norse connection is logical, because it was the Norse who first came up with the idea of elves living in the beautiful, pristine realm of Alfheim. These have been the most common fantasy beings explored by hundreds of authors, but their cultures have remained largely similar from world to world. Elegant, graceful, exceedingly beautiful, elves are often highly focused on the purity of their race and their cities. Ageless until slain, they are typically very frail, and can be brought down physically or mentally, including dying from guilt or sadness.
Type 2. Brownie.
Though typically depicted as tiny elves building shoes, I like the idea of a mother brownie teaching her child how to bake. I don't know what the fractured orange in the front is supposed to be, but I like the idea that the brownies are making brownies. These tiny creatures of Scottish folklore are the subject of such stories as The Elves and the Shoemaker. They are tiny beings that come out at night to help people in secret. Brownies are typically more loyal to the survival and well-being of the household than to the individuals. Highly industrious, there is no task too menial for them to do for someone else, but this can wear on them. Some brownies are said to secretly turn their backs on those who do not leave some sign of gratitude.
Type 3. Dwarf.
Gruff but lovable humanoids known for their outstanding work ethic, dwarves have been depicted for over a millennium as miners and blacksmiths. Here we can see in the picture the dwarf is obviously smelting some of the ore that he has obtained. He seems very happy to be doing it, because the more they mine, the more wealth they get. Dwarves labor diligently to enrich themselves and their societies, and they are typically driven by profit. However, they are also known for creation of tools and weapons with properties designed to teach the wielders lessons, as they are naturally skilled at seeing the strengths and weaknesses of others.
Type 4. Vampire.
This is another picture the AI did not want to give me. In the end, I could not get the AI to generate a picture of vampires with their protruding fangs, which is possibly their most well-known feature, at least in American culture. Mostly depicted as beings to be feared and loathed, vampires are increasingly complex beings who have gained strong cultural following. Though most versions have an insatiable need to feed themselves, they are also depicted frequently as desiring deep and lasting love connections. Their strange behavior and frequently nocturnal behavior are both frightening to some and alluring to others. They often have been shown to have an eye for beauty and a flair for the dramatic.
Type 5. Centaur.
Out of the 27 species I'm going to be representing in these videos, as well as the 258 species that will be represented in my Terra Nova game, Centaur is by far the single race that was the hardest to generate a picture of, which is surprising because it's also one of the best known mythological creatures. Though occasionally depicted as wild, untamed warriors, most depictions of centaurs, even anciently, are that of solitary mountain dwellers who delight in instrumental music and spend their time pondering the stars and the meaning of life. They are said to represent the struggle of mankind between his barbaric instincts and his desire to be civilized. Generally asocial, they do not like their domain to be threatened, but they can form lasting and emotionally dependent bonds.
Type 6. Werewolf.
Here we see 2 lycanthropes, one fully transformed and one not fully transformed. I like the idea of lycanthropes having a community, much like that of dogs or wolves in our actual world, rather than being feral monsters of the dark. Werewolves have long since been feared by societies that view wolves as dangerous and ravenous, but most cultures nowadays recognize the nobility and fierce loyalty of wolves. To that end, they are frequently depicted as faithful guardians and secret friends of mankind. Many werewolves are nervous about their identity and fear the loss of control, as well as fearing the loss of friends if they were to find out their deepest, darkest secret.
Type 7. Satyr.
As satyrs are typically depicted as loving music, I thought it would be good to have the satyr have an instrument of some kind. In the end, the AI gave me something that doesn't exist in our world, at least to the best of my knowledge. But it does make sense that satyrs will want to play the most exotic and unique instruments. Typically, though ironically not always, depicted as having the legs of goats. Which animals satyrs represent is less important than their behavior. Jolly, cheerful, sensory-seeking, satyrs are lovers of music and beauty that are best known for their inability to control their impulses. What they want, they chase after with all seriousness, especially to satiate their powerful urges. Their eloquence and flirtatiousness is typically self-serving, but it does serve to make them likable.
Type 8. Gnome.
Though gnomes and dwarves are typically seen as similar, there are definitely distinctions between the two, with dwarves having more of an industrious underground society, while gnomes tend to live in larger citadels above ground. That's what I think we're depicting here, if not the Munchkin from The Wizard of Oz, who opens the door to the Emerald City. As hardworking as dwarves, gnomes typically are individualistic, and more driven by protection than by success. Their citadels are typically impenetrable, rather than providing a safe place to work. People keep effigies of gnomes in their yards, which originated for the purpose of protecting their gardens from those that would do it harm, physically or mystically. Their attitude is their greatest weapon, which includes fierceness with a condescending smile.
Type 9. Halfling.
Though I couldn't get the AI to generate a picture of hobbits with hair on their feet, I do like the idea of these young children happily sharing in their bounty and happily sharing in their peace together. That's the image I wanted to give for halflings, as well as for Type 9. The only semi-sung heroes of Middle-earth and other fantasies since, halflings live a clean, comfortable, quiet, calm life of self-reflection and simple pleasures. They have a strong sense of community and the importance of family. They do not get involved with the news of the outside world, and prefer to live away from the hustle, bustle, and chaos of bigger, scarier folk. They are resistant to greed and other temptations because of their simple desires.
As they say in Rivendell, metta, the end. Just as the idea of being something else than human has intrigued generations, the idea of being more than ourselves ought to be intriguing to everyone. The Enneagram is a powerful tool for self-improvement, and you can learn more about it and your place in the real world at the website included in the description. Take the test, set up your appointment, and like and subscribe so you can see more videos like this. Join us next time as we combine fantasy and the animal kingdom and bring you fantasy animals from the Western world. Until then, improve yourself, improve relationships, improve the world.